What is the crack, guys, and welcome back to another video. And as you can see, we're here in the luxury of my front room. Please don't tell my mother. And we have a lovely backdrop of the old NSR 50. Lately I have been looking a bit more into my little Honda NSR. As you do when you buy a new bike, it's always nice to have a bit of information, historical background, and because bikes can't talk, it's nice to know the story behind it. Of course, like everyone really, they start their search on Google and typing in Repsol NSR 50, I can see a pattern appearing already. The first thing to note is I am talking specifically about the Honda NSR 5075R. The ones you can see here are the Japanese models. They only had a single seat, so they had a little cowl. They use the same frame, which is interesting, but the wheel size is considerably smaller. But looking at the frame of the NSR 75, you can see it uses the same kind of rear sets, the pedals. The engine is the same, so it's interesting how they changed around the bodywork and the wheels. So what we're talking about is the Honda NSR 50 with the larger 17-inch wheels. These were produced in Spain and were only kind of sold to the European market. What is interesting though, this first picture here on Google, as you can see, is for sale in Hollyhill, Cork. And when I was looking a bit closer, you can tell it's the same bike. So these are the marks that were on it. It was fairly badly cracked, and the same here on the front fairing. So I'm not going to lie, it does look pretty rough in these photos. So I'm quite happy on how it tidied up. This ad was listed 2 years ago, which is pretty in line with when I bought it. But this wasn't the person I bought it off, which is interesting as well. So as you can see, 8,160 kilometers. One owner on the logbook, which is not himself, because I know the original owner and I'll get back to that. And the only other ones I see really is this one on a UK website and this one on CMSNL. This one here, of course, you'd recognize, YouTube. And that's my own one again. You have one here which is on Cat Wiki. And every other model here that I'm bypassing is not the same. Most of these are just other random NSRs. You have one here. And you have another one here. That looks like another one. And these ones actually came with a green base coat, which indicates this is the Honda NSR 75. So there is a little difference between the two. And that's how you can tell if it's a 50 or an 80. So as you can see, one more there. That one's an 80. Another one here. And as you scroll down, they start to slowly disappear, which means there's not really much on the web. So that makes it quite interesting that they're kind of not very common. Like if you search in the NR 750 Honda, it is a super rare bike, and there's so many. Like when you type in the model, it just is non-stop NR 750s. I know these are obviously like a way more sought after, but you'd think if the NSRs were more affordable to buy, like more people would have owned them in the past. Going back up to the top of the list, when we click into this ad, this really caught my attention. The ad is fairly interesting. Repsol edition, last one, produced till the end of 2000, and mine is a 2001, so it'll be a late registered model. Imported into Holland December 2008, and this is what really caught my attention. 200 of them produced. Now, we can't trust some random around the internet, including Mr. Gert, but if we were to believe that, the classic RVF 750, there was only 200 of these produced worldwide, and it is a bike that I just absolutely dream of. It's actually the reason why I bought the VFR, because they used the kind of same engine, but the VFR is a lot cheaper. So yeah, if we were to believe Mr. Gert here, with only 200 of these Repsol NSRs produced, it would be very rare bike. So I basically had no other choice. So I said I'd give Honda Ireland an old shout. I basically just said, hello, I was looking to see if you could help me with a question. I have a Honda NSR 50R made in Montesa, Spain, frame number, blah, blah, blah. I'm curious to find out how many were built and sold in the YR181 Repsol orange colour code. I can't find information online about these, so I was wondering if you would know, or if possible have a contact email for someone in Montesa who might be able to answer. And I just said I'd attach some photos for reference. And they wrote back to me basically saying, hi Ryan, thanks for your email. Apologies for the delayed reply. Unfortunately, we do not have this information. The Montesa factory production finished many years ago. Regards from Niall. So unfortunately, Niall was not able to help me. The next thing I was looking for was someone who might just know the information. Like a lot of enthusiasts, they've all moved over to Facebook. So I found this group for NSR 50s with 800 members. So after searching through the Facebook group, I didn't really come across any good leads. A lot of the guys in there are Spanish, and I don't think they really understand what I had to say when I made my post. But to bring this video to a conclusion, I don't actually know how many were made, but judging by the Google results and just searching for them for sale, like, you can't even find a normal NSR for sale anymore. As far as Ireland and England goes, there's not really many left. Now, to the interesting part of this story, I actually knew about this bike back when I was 15. See, we're talking 10 years ago is the first time I came across this bike behind me. I was working in the local post office, and the lady in there, her son was after getting this bike off a family member. And it sat in the shed for many, many years. And yeah, I was obsessed with NSRs back then as well. So he was telling me he had this Repsol one in his shed, and I was like, oh, I want it. This was when I was this was just before I got my license, when I turned 16, so I would have been 15 at the time, and he would not sell the bike to me, so I went off on my own and I just bought my own NSR 80, and we lived happily ever after. So I do know the original owner of this bike, and I know that it has sat in the shed for many years, so it all makes sense. The low mileage, the condition, it could be better, but a lot of it is just rust and from storage of just sitting in a damp shed, unfortunately. Nothing that can't be fixed, I guess, because it is a steel frame. And just to be clear about this whole thing, I only paid €350 for this bike 2 years ago. I discussed some of the story in my bike history video, which you can watch back. Basically, I seen the bike for sale on Facebook Marketplace, and I absolutely snapped it up. This was probably the only bargain I've ever had. And you know, people who they constantly buy and buy for so cheap, and they just sell for profit. And because this is my only real bargain that I've ever bought, I don't think I can even come to sell it, because I don't really get these deals often. As I was saying in that previous video, a guy offered me double the price I paid for it only like an hour later. And so far, really all I've invested in this bike is a set of brake pads. Like, the caliper just got cleaned down. I had access to the vinyl wrap, so I was able to clean up a lot of it for pretty much no cost. The black paint was cheap. Like, black paint tidies up everything. Thank you, black paint. So yeah, I can happily say I only have about €400 invested in this bike. But this is more down to the nostalgia of owning this bike and the story behind it. I just don't think I'd be able to sell it. So that really is the story of the NSR 50 Repsol that's sitting behind me. I really took inspiration from Juicebox's video. It's episode number 86, where Neil finds old clips of his AE86 on the net. He was able to find video clips, which is fairly cool, of his car in a TV show. I don't think the old NSR was in any TV shows, but as you can see, it's pretty easy to find photos on the web. And I really just came across a lot of these randomly searching. So do you have any cool stories about your bike? Has it turned up on the internet somewhere? Have you found old adverts for them? And did you find out any more information that you already didn't know, only for doing a bit of research and searching Google? I'd love to hear from you down in the comments below.